All right, good afternoon. Oh, come on, seriously, I know it's a little droopy outside and stuff. We'll try this one more time. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And at this point, this is the MDX meeting, Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. It's a little bit past 4 o'clock. And at this time, I'd like to call to order the meeting. And let's please stand for a moment of silence. Actually, Mr. Moss, why don't you do the prayer? Member Moss.
Please bow your heads. Lord, bless this august body, MDX, who is here on a voluntary basis, trying to do the good work for the people of Miami-Dade County. Bless the staff and the contractors and all that make this system work. Bless our residents who use our roads on a daily basis to go to school, to go to work, to go to the hospital, to the grocery store, and to take care of their everyday needs. These and other blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
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 Please turn, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Maria Luisa, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Board Member Cueto,
Present.
Board Member Monestein, Board Member Smith-Fano, Treasurer Weinberg, Vice Chair Moss,
Yeah.
Chairman Diaz.
Okay. We're going to get an approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
I have a motion by Vice Chairman Moss, second by Member Fano. All in favor, say aye. Record showed none opposed. All right, let's move into declaration of voting conflict. Does any of the members have any conflicts at this time? Let the record reflect as such. Okay, citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens at this time that would like to come up and give any comments? Please do not rush the podium all at once. Okay, let the records reflect that no citizens came forward to this. Mr. Counsel,
Yes, sir. We'll move the
you ready to party?
regular agenda. Item A, approval to advertise MDX contract number ITB 24-01, system-wide pavement mark and rehabilitation. Engineer's estimate, $3,260,327.
Do I have an approval? I have I'll never get out of my system, guys, no matter how much I try. I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? None.
Item B, approval to advertise MDX contract ITB 24-02, system-wide milling and resurfacing program. Engineer's estimate, $5,698,059.
Do I have a motion? A motion by Vice Chairman Moss, second. Loose. Okay. Member Winsberg. God, having one of those days, guys. All right. With that, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? None.
Item C, approval to advertise MDX contract number RFQ 24-01, LED lighting conversion. Engineer's estimate, $700,000.
Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Motion by Member Cueto, second by Member Monestein. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? None. Next one.
Item D, approval of supplemental agreement number 8 for MDX contract number 16-01 on MDX project 83611, design build escalation payment schedule, $6,500,000.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Member Fano. Do I have a Second by Member Cueto. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? None.
Item E, reject all bids and cancel MDX procurement contract number 23-19 for 826 aesthetic lighting.
Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chair Moss, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this has been around for a little while now. And, I was inquiring earlier, of council, if there is a way to either talk with all of the responders to see if something else could be negotiated, or is there another way to fast track some other kind of procurement process in order for us to make sure that we can move forward with this aesthetic lighting that's been, again, waiting for a very, very long time. So I would ask, through the chair, if council could weigh in, on that in reference to what are some alternatives to just basically throwing everything out.
Well, here we did discuss this at length. We feel that there may or may not be an issue with the $400,000 estimate. And if there is an issue with the $400,000 estimate being too low, then there's probably other electrical contractors out there who probably could have put in for this, but were scared away by the $400,000. Now, on the other hand, I don't think this would be very difficult to put out. We have all the paperwork ready, and I've talked to the executive director. She has spoken to engineering. They will take a look at the engineer's estimate and turn this around very quick, so we can have it on the June agenda to approve.
Vice Chair.
Yes.
And I wanted to add that I actually spoke to the executive director about this because I saw that it was a bigger percentile than it's actually 50%. 48, close to 50%. And I know that we've in the past said when it's a certain amount that we might want to put it out again because it doesn't really work with us. But Madam Executive Director, you want to add to that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to take this back because we already started work. So I want to make sure the Vice Chairman knows that even though we did this procurement for the actual equipment, the actual ground wiring that's needed, the actual groundwork that's needed in order for us to get this equipment installed had already started in spring. And that we did it through a lighting contractor that we currently have on board that does this work for us. Now, the reason why we advertised it was because the actual equipment we were looking for was not part of the original contract that we had with that lighting contractor. So there has been work already advanced. And the minute we get this company on board, whichever it may be, the work will take only 4 to 6 weeks roughly. I just want to make sure that's a correct statement. I believe it is from what engineering has mentioned to me in the past.
We anticipate that the work will take around that time frame. There is the time to acquire all the material. We don't that can vary from 2 to 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the vendors that are providing the lighting. But we feel that within a 2 months time frame, we can get it all procured and installed.
So, Mr. Chair, what's our way forward at this point?
I think our way forward is exactly what the executive director and council were saying. I think maybe that we want this. I actually think this is incredible, and you've been asking for a long time, and all of us have actually asked for this for a long time. And I think it'll only enhance what MDX is all about. But at the same time, we have a process here to make sure our pennies last a lot longer, and make sure that we get what we're asking for. And I know there's a slow supply chain, and there's a lot of things that have driven the cost up for a lot of things, but I think it could be turned pretty fast to put it back out again. And I don't know if that's the wish of this board, but I think it's not something that it needs to be done really in an immediate situation, like some other things that we've had to pull the trigger faster. But of course, we want things to happen, but if we could save some money moving forward, I think it will be, and maybe do more of this in different areas too. Member Monestein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, 1 second. Had you finished, sir?
I'm fine. I would just like Member Monestein to respond to maybe adding, in addition to asking that we move forward with the recommendation, that something else, the way forward, is also added in as a part of the part of his motion.
Okay.
Well, for the purpose of this discussion, I'll remove my motion and continue with my comment. Though I do support, re-advertising in a quicker period of time, considering the discrepancy and the different of the bidding of the bidders. One is 48%, the other one is 63% higher than what is, the contractor that you're currently working on. So if it was closer, I would say, you know what, the people's work need to get done. Let's negotiate something, ask staff to negotiate something quickly and renew the contract. But with such huge discrepancy, considering the bottleneck and the supply chain as well, but nevertheless, if they come this high and I would always anticipate some kind of like over costs. Run over costs at the end to the extent that I always think that there's a portion of that would come back and they ask for more. I would re-advertise and give a shorter period of time to get that.
In your wisdom, Member Monestein, I agree with you, and I also agree with the Vice Chairman. I think that if we could add more of this to different parts,
Yeah.
And enhance it. Everybody knows the bridge over Brickell and how nice that looks, or the river, and things like that. That is actually something that we want to keep. Miami-Dade is elegant and it's nice for those people that come and spend a lot of money and keep us going here in Dade County in the tourism. So I agree with you. I think if it could be expanded. So I don't know, Executive Director, how would you do that?
There, sorry, the button was not turning on the red light. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we can expedite this. Obviously, it's just changing if the estimate comes back that we want to make sure the estimate's correct, because of course, a lot of them came in 48% or more. I want to make sure there was nothing on our end that when we did the estimates, which was not that long ago, we just conducted these, I think it was about 3 to 4 months ago, just to make sure that we were not underestimating what this costs. I don't feel comfortable with it. If I did, I would have probably not brought this item back to the board. But I think that making sure that there may be other bidders, if the price was different, and there's other bidders out there that could have given us a bid that was not just these three, that was taken into account. But it will get out by June 22nd. We will bring this back to the board by June 22nd. Once it's approved, that's something that's quickly done. Of course, there may be other avenues that not necessarily re-advertisement, right? Maybe we have to look at also our current lighting contractor. Like I mentioned earlier, is somebody we had discussed this in the past, and it was just we were not getting the right price at the time. But again, that's something that could be considered when we go back and revisit what the right direction would be. But we will get this out by no later than the end of June to then have the work start by July.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Then based upon that, I would, Board Member Monestein had moved to, to approve the recommendation to reject all bids, and then instruct the staff to move forward with a new, I don't know if that's proper, a new procurement.
Yes, sir. Well, we're going to evaluate it first.
Is it an adjustment of a procurement or a new procurement?
It would be a new one.
A new one, okay.
Okay.
He's good at that.
I can, Mr.
And he's yielding over there.
So if I can, Mr. Chair, thank you. So just to touch on what Carlos just mentioned, it would be a new procurement, but the paperwork is there. It's pretty much the same. If there's any modification, maybe it's on the estimate itself. We want to make sure even that there's nothing else regarding our bonds and everything that we're not seeing, that's why the price may be escalated. We just want to make sure that we take that into consideration when we're looking at this, but there's going to be no issue with getting this out. So it is a new procurement, but technically the paperwork it's already done, which is what takes the bulk of the time in order to get these things advertised and to move forward.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd
Member
like to
Wines.
actually commend
Wines.
staff and the executive director for their wisdom in coming back and rejecting the bids. It's really not easy when you put out projects and some of these bids come in at some outrageous amounts. And it's very easy to think, well, they're all so far above your estimate that they've got to be right, rather than think that perhaps they might be wrong and they're trying to not be completely forthright. So always prefer to err on the side of our engineer estimates and procure. And Vice Chair, I feel your concerns with the delays because we've been waiting for this. But I was very comfortable once the delay was explained the way to us. It really isn't a delay, and I think it's our responsibility to make sure that the market knows that if you come at us with anything that's outrageous, we're going to question it. And you have an executive director who's going to bring it back to the board and say, not in here, not up in here. So I want to just get that on record and commend staff for their diligence on this. Thank you.
Well said, Member Weinberg. All right.
Thank you.
With that, anything else on this item?
No, that's it.
Okay. Did you get that, Cor?
It's the original, what we said, but I would add to that and approve and bring back approval to advertise the project for a new procurement in June.
Exactly.
Approval for advertisement?
In June. We'll have it for June 22nd. I think that's the meeting.
We could.
Marty,
Let me ask you a question.
Dime.
And also, in
I'm
the
sorry.
interest of time, could we just give instructions that this is the way we want it and just approve it based on that to save some time?
You could, but
We
don't
could
know
save a
what-
month.
We don't know what the estimate's going to be.
I'm trying. Okay, I knew that was going to be not a worker. Motion by Vice Chairman Moss, second by Member Monestein. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Next item.
Consent agenda item A, travel to Tallahassee, Florida by the executive director on April 27th to 28th for a legislative session.
Okay, Madam Executive Director. You have anything to say on this, or we're good? All right. So, a motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? None. Next item.
Approval summary minutes.
Motion to approve the summary minutes, board meeting of April 25th. I have a motion by Member Weinberg, I believe. I heard her hand. I woke up funny. Go ahead. Member Monestein, you second? Okay. You two sound alike. Member Cueto, seconds. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? None. Next item is information item, procurement report. I may? No procurement report?
It's attached.
All right, so we move forward. Motion to accept? Motion by the Vice Chair to accept, second by Member Cueto. All in favor, say aye. None opposed. Next item, reports. Treasurer's report. Madam Treasurer?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We won't discuss, Chair.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
I am sorry I missed last month's board meeting due to travel, but the April Treasurer's Report is here now. And it's very, very healthy, and thank you, Marie, for always handling all my questions and craziness. But we are very healthy, and I again commend Marie and her staff on the excellent work that they do, because these numbers are, it's a fun time to do numbers in this economy and with all the challenges we keep being presented, but we're extremely healthy. Our operating budget is we're about 43.3 million of the 58, and coming up on towards the end of our fiscal year. So we're doing very, very well. The budget, our new budget for the incoming fiscal year, was emailed to everybody on Friday. Did everybody receive it? Along with your budget, you also will have the work program, which I am most excited about because there's a lot of good stuff in our work program. So you have one packet, and I was very, very happy because Marie went a different route with how she structured the budget, how it looks, the format. It's even easier to read. So for those of you who are bombarded with reading budgets, this is just very streamlined and very easy. So it'll be a fun time for us over the next few weeks. Please call staff, schedule your briefings, ask all your questions, and I'm sure we're going to have a very interesting and exciting budget meeting next month. In June. It is June. It is next month. Oh my God, it's already May. That's what you get for skipping one meeting. I'm off. So our on revenues, we're at 229 mil of the 328 forecast. 238 forecast. I'm still getting it wrong, Marie. I don't know when I'm getting this extra 100 from. So we're very healthy there. Our revenue is mostly comprised of our tolls, of course, at 197, fees and investments at 12, and just over 6 million over others. So overall, incredibly healthy, and Marie gets to do a lot with our dollars. So we're in a good spot. And I think you're going to find the budget very easy to read and very appropriate in coming into the new fiscal year. I will note also that I'm very proud as well of the items that we voted on in this agenda. Almost all of them improve our MRP, which is our maintenance rating program score by the DOT and the FDOT. And that is a very good thing because improving scores and service, back to your constant concern, Vice Chair Moss. I love that you're all about our maintenance of our roads, as we all really are and should be. These items that we voted on today play into that score. So we're very proud of that. And that's my report, and it's a good one.
Good report. Thank you.
Amen.
All right. Executive Director report. Executive Director.
Well, I don't know if I can beat Luz's report, but mine should be pretty short and simple this month. But I did want to give a procurement update on our emergency debris removal procurement. I know that's something that was talked about at length in our last meeting, and I'm happy to report that it was advertised yesterday, and we should be receiving bids by June 14th on this item. So, of course, we're going to try to walk it into our June meeting because we want to have this contract signed and ready to go for July 1st. So that's what we're shooting for. Now, for the other procurement updates we have is that we already we signed our contracts for the personnel services, our system-wide janitorial and facilities maintenance, and signing and pavement maintenance and maintenance of traffic contracts were just signed this month. So NTPs will be within the next week for all those contracts. Now, in our community engagement, I mentioned last month that we were asked to attend by Miami-Dade County on May 1st for Small Business Week that they were hosting. And this event, we had a booth and provided information on how to do business with MDX. Of course, we verbally spoke to many vendors and distributed flyers on our outlook also of what procurement we expect coming up. I think there was about 100 attendees that day. I think they expected more, but I know there was some construction that caused a lot of delays for people to get there, unfortunately, but it was a good turnout. We did have about over 100 visitors at our booth. So, of course, it's us getting out to the community and really engaging with our small business to make sure that they're all registered, understand how that works, right? How do you get in? How do you register? Where do I look for the information? You'll be surprised. No matter how many times we repeat this on a monthly or daily basis, it's something that it never gets old, right? Because I think there's so many new small businesses that are born every year that really should take advantage of doing business with, of course, government agencies. And we want to be at the forefront of that. So as Luz mentioned, everybody received the email with a draft budget and work program for next month. I know Mari's going to be reaching out to every one of you, because I want to really set time aside to really discuss the details on the work program and the budget. It looks a little different than last year, but it's good. You know, obviously we've taken into account everything that's been mentioned on this board. And something else that you might see on the work program that we want to add is obviously improving our aesthetics lighting, right? Because one thing is the interchange of the 826 and the 836, which we discussed. Thank you to Vice Chairman Moss. But then we also talked about coming back with a report of how are we planning on implementing this at more locations on our system. So correct. So I wanna make sure that our work program shows that. And we kind of prioritize what potential locations we have. I know we talked about our underpasses as well, of lighting those up, and we showed some samples of that. So you're gonna see a little bit of that on our work program, but it's pretty good, I think. I did what our treasurer mentioned, but that will be set up. Of course, I do want to do it in advance in case we have to make any modifications, that we have time to do that before our June board meeting. ComTO quarterly meeting. I know I mentioned this last month, but I'm going to say it again. It's going to be on June 8th. MDX is hosting that meeting here in our chambers. I know we are going to be finalizing details in the next couple of days with Melissa Roll-Scott, which I believe works in DTPW with board member Cueto. She's great. If you guys have not met her yet, she's a huge advocate for ComTO here in Miami. And of course, engaging, MDX became a member of ComTO last year, and we're happy to be on board with them. And of course, we couldn't say no to them when they asked us to be a host. And I will be giving a presentation on the things that MDX has been doing, what we're working on, and where our future is going as well at that meeting. But of course, the time, I think that's something that still has to be sorted out with ComTO. But we'll send that information. Yes. And then the next Team Florida meeting, I know board member Weinberg was at that meeting. I could not attend, unfortunately. I was very sick that week that I could not attend, but I did attend the board meeting. We had our evaluation for Amy Davies, which is our executive director for Team Florida. And there was other items that we had approved, of course, with our bylaws as it comes to Team Florida itself. So that was a very lengthy discussion, even though I was on Zoom. And I know there was meetings that were scheduled for Friday, which I believe obviously were rescheduled due to an emergency that was happening in the hotel at the time where they were hosting Team Florida. But I know overall, the board meeting went very well. I don't know if board member Weinberg wants to add to that, but I think that pretty much covers at least what I was able to attend on the board meeting. But as far as the event
The
itself,
Thursday day program was primarily focused on the Tampa system and what new projects are coming up. So the Tampa Bay area is pretty much getting a retransformation. If you haven't been up there lately, I strongly recommend it. Tampa's not what the Tampa of yesteryear was. And yes, we did have also our board meeting that Thursday afternoon, but there was a fire in the hotel Friday morning, and we were all evacuated from about 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. that we were allowed to go back in. And all we had that Friday program was 8 a.m. to noon. So there was no Friday program. We all basically went home, and I was one of only 2 board members that kind of hung back and ultimately became the only one. So Amy had asked me to stay through to make sure everybody got out okay, and everybody did. There were 9 people that were rushed to the hospital for smoke inhalation. The fire was on the 11th floor. Most of the Team Florida teams were on the 10th, 11th, and 9th floor. So it was quite chaotic, but everyone did come out okay. So yeah, we had no Friday program, but the Thursday program was quite insightful. It's always good to spend time with our counterparts across the state to see what they're doing and what some of their struggles are and what some of their excitement is. And there's a lot of good stuff happening across the state. I'm very happy about that.
Okay.
thank you. Yeah, just to add one more thing, I was voted or volunteered as the chair of a subcommittee on Team Florida, which is regarding our reserves, right? So we have a reserve account with about $200,000 in it, and there's a subcommittee that I chair, which I have to come and report back in our July meeting, which really talks about what does Team Florida want to do with this reserve? Do we enhance the program we have now? Do we do scholarships? And those are discussions that are currently ongoing, and we're hoping that can be. We're going to have that subcommittee again, that meeting prior to the July meeting, so I can report back. But it's really to discuss what should we do with these funds that Team Florida currently has. And I know we're leaning towards really pushing and enhancing the program itself for the people that are currently members. And I do want to say that their membership has increased versus every year, they've gotten more and more members to join Team Florida, which is great. So Amy Davies obviously has been doing a great job since she's been there roughly about the same time I've been here at MDX, so it's been a year now that she's been the executive director. It's made some pretty big changes there, and they're obviously very positive. So
For anyone tuned in that's going, what's Team Florida? It's actually an acronym, TEAM. It's the Transportation Expressways Membership Association of Florida. And so all of us expressway authorities throughout the state, from us down here all the way north to the Jacksonville line, are members. And then all of the contractors and vendors and the likes that work with us are also members. So you have members from the private sector and the public sector. Turnpike is also, of course, a member. Actually, our current chair is the executive director of the Turnpike, and we meet quarterly and kind of share best practices and share solutions, etc. So it's a very good group. Most of the members of the audience today are at every meeting, every quarter, and you always walk away learning something from somebody. So it's a very good group.
So on that note, that was the reason why I brought this up, is because our next Team Florida meeting is going to be on July 19th through the 21st. It's going to be in St. Pete Beach, Florida. And it is called a transportation summer camp with the Better Floridians for Transportation, or Floridians for Better Transportation. I attended that last year. It's actually a very good transportation camp to attend, because you do meet with a lot of these contractors, and a lot of people I work with are different partners, like state of Florida and of course other expressway authorities, and it's a combined joint meeting, so it really brings in a lot of people from all over the state to obviously talk about where we're going and what is the vision for these agencies and these expressways, and we all learn from each other, of course. So I know Mari will probably send an email maybe in the next week or two to just remind you all when and where that is, in case anybody here would like to attend that meeting. So that concludes my executive director report.
All right. I thought it was pretty good. They're both great. Yeah, really. It's all good. Well, let's go over to our
Wow.
general counsel report.
Yes. Yeah, it's tremendous. You guys report on all the good stuff. I have three things I want to talk about. First, the elections. Next month, we'll be holding elections for our board officers. According to MDX bylaws, board members can only serve in the same office for 2 consecutive years. All our current officers have served in their positions for 2 consecutive years. So I will send out the rules of early this month, and
Rules of engagement?
rules. Well, I don't want to use that term because that's so ugly. When is the board meeting? June 22nd? Okay, at 10 a.m. Right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Second, status of litigation between MDX and GMX. All the briefs from both sides have been filed in the appellate court. We're just waiting for oral argument date. The court is under no timeline to give us a date. So we're just waiting. Prior to walking in here, I checked. There's nothing on there. And they haven't set out the schedule for June yet. So we might be on in June. We might not be on in June. And lastly, the third, I want to talk a little bit. I'll just give you facts of the legislation that was passed. The Florida legislators passed and the governor signed House Bill 1305. It's the annual Florida transportation bills. There were sections relating to MDX as well as other entities. Highlights of the bill pertaining to MDX. It dissolved MDX again and reestablished GMX. All MDX assets are transferred to GMX. They also included a transfer of County Road 94, which is Loop Road, and the northeast part of Monroe County to GMX, which they find, this was in the House bill, as stated in the bill, will not subject GMX to Miami-Dade County home rule. For informational purpose, the road in the entire area is owned by the United States Department of Interior, which via use agreement was given to the Miccosukee tribe. Fourth, government-appointed board members to GMX will be subject to Senate confirmation, but it exempts individuals that were previously appointed to GMX. There's nothing in the bill that requires representation from Monroe County. Lastly, the dissolution of special district, which is Florida Statute 189072, we are a special district, does not apply to the Florida Expressway Act, okay? And the only comment I have is whether it has any effect on MDX is something that will be judicially determined in the future.
Thank you for your report. I think everybody's understanding. All right. With that, I'll make mine pretty simple. I really want to congratulate the entity that we put on to do the work around the trimming of the plants and everything else around the highway. I know my brother here to my left has always said for 20 years we worked, obviously he was doing it for a little longer, but for 20 years I supported and helped all the projects with Green Street and everything else, along with Member Monestein, and we worked real hard to that, but it was your leadership. And let me tell you, the difference of the highway on the 836 as it passes the Palmetto, and that whole area there is really the equivalent of, any five-star hotel. The way it's done, the way that everything has been trimmed, the way it looks, the cleaning up. I just wanted to state that because that's what we're all about. We want to make sure that we really project the best possible way. And we've worked, all of us, that's been part of what we wanted to do. And to see it finally come to fruition and doing it, that's when we were talking about some lighting. It just popped into my mind that there's a lot that is still done. And I'll tell you the truth, everybody enjoys it. I've seen it in other parts, in other places, in Orlando and so on. And you have mentioned that many times. Where up in the Villages area, where they have that bridge and so on. So it's a new day. I'm very proud to be part of this organization and what is moving forward, and also the quality of the roads and everything else. And as you mentioned in your prayer, the people that work here in MDX and all the contractors and all the people involved, and of course the board members for coming and doing their part. It's a good day in MDX. I'm very proud to be part of MDX, and that's my report. With that, announcements? Anything you want to announce? We're good? You want to say this? Go ahead.
Board meeting on June 22nd, 2023 at 10 a.m. right here in the William M. Lehman MDX Building Boardroom.
And something I just want to add, and we do it sometimes. Anything for the good of the order? Anything anybody wants to say before we adjourn? Anything? Okay. I'll try something new. With that, at this time, motion to adjourn? Wouldn't be the same without you.
Yeah.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.